This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by GoToMeeting, online meetings made easy. We have finally seen the fruits of some of our hard work. And this was actually a perfect case of exactly what I'd love to do in the long run, which is have the left wing work with the right wing to actually get us what centrists want. Isn't that ironic and interesting? But it's true. And what am I talking about? Auditing the Fed. Remember, this is the program that Alan Grayson and Ron Paul worked on together. In the beginning, the Obama administration was against it. The Republican Party was against it. And they're like, oh, no. You can't find out what's going on at the Fed. That would be terribly dangerous. But you know what happened? Once they brought it to a vote, everybody was like, whose side am I going to be on? Remember what happened when we were on the side of the banks in TARP? And then some of my bitches got their ass sent home? So all of a sudden, the Republicans and Democrats put on the spot. They said, oh, yeah, we should definitely audit the Fed, right? Now, that is in conjunction with Bloomberg News filing a Freedom of Information Act, wanting to get more information out of the Fed. So the Fed says today, okay, you guys win. Here's our information. I mean, this is basically, I guess, the month of wiki data, right? Whether it's WikiLeaks or the Fed dumping all of these documents, and it is 21,000 transactions that we're now finding out about. Now, they didn't want to do it piece by piece because that hurt them more. They just dumped it and were like, I don't know, we'll sift through it. We're not going to tell you where the juicy stuff is. And people are sifting through it today, right? So what's the relevant stuff? First, we find out the Fed actually gave a massive $3.3 trillion aid program to the top banks, not in the country, in the world, okay? So when they were like, oh yeah, TARP, $700 billion, and a lot of that got paid back, and we're missing 25 to 50 billion, but that's going to give it no. That was the tip of the spear. The real spear, the gigantic portion of it is, as I've told you all along, but now we can absolutely confirm it, is the money that the Fed gave out. And so in the middle of that panic, by the way, sometimes as they're giving the money, they need collateral, right? Because they can't say, all right, here, take the money, and then hopefully you'll pay us back, but we're not going to get any collateral. You can't do that, right? But of course, the banks didn't have enough collateral because they were in massive trouble. That was the whole problem in the first place. So what do? They pawned off $1.3 trillion worth of junk securities, which the Fed recognizes a quarter of the money that they put up as collateral was junk. So that money will pretend is real when we know it isn't, when it's massively overvalued. Now, if they just use it for collateral and then we eventually got paid back, okay, if we got paid back, I can live with it, right? Okay, the real problem is the Fed went and bought $1.1 trillion worth of securities from those banks. Now, which ones do you think the banks sold them? Do you think they sold them their best properties or their worst properties? I'll give you a little time to think about it. Of course, they sold them the worst junk that they had. $1.1 trillion that they unloaded. But they said, don't worry, it's being backed up. Who's it being backed up by? Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You know what that means? It's the taxpayers. So, hey, listen, if you have trouble with that getting paid back on that $1.1 trillion, go ask the American taxpayer. We got majorly hosed. So whenever you hear about TARP and how it got paid back, nonsense. The real problem was the $1.1 trillion that we're not sure we're going to get paid back on at all. And that is among the documents that we find here. Problem number two. It's interesting. They said this was for the American economy and that it was obviously to help the country, and that's why our Fed printed all this money and gave it to the banks. Except it turns out two of the biggest beneficiaries was not American people, not American companies, not even American banks. It was two foreign banks, Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse got $287 billion of mortgage bonds that they dumped into the Fed, and Deutsche Bank dumped $290 billion worth of junk into the Fed. Now, let me ask you something. Why, on God's green earth, are we helping German and Swiss bankers When you turn around and say, hey, I'd like, for example, $60 billion to help the unemployed in this country because we're in a massive recession, right? We got 9.6% unemployment. Republicans say, oh, no, hell no. $60 billion is way too much. On the other hand, we can give $290 billion to German bankers. Why? Because when the rich want money, they get it immediately. When the American people need money, people who are really suffering from this economy need the money, oh, hell no. No. We don't have it in the budget. We got deficit problems, etc. Swiss bankers, oh, right away, 280 some odd billion. What more would you like? This is beyond outrageous. And look, see, this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're a conservative or a liberal, or at least it shouldn't matter. Why would we want to give our money away to foreign bankers? It's crazy. So, and next time somebody tells you, oh, no, I'm sorry, we don't have the money. See, really, that's interesting because when the bankers needed it, you had $3.3 trillion. When the German and Swiss bankers needed it, you had nearly $600 billion. But when American people need it, nope, all of a sudden you don't have the money. You see how this works? Young Turks have a new sponsor, GoToMeetings. Online meetings made incredibly simple. You can set it up in 2 minutes and you can talk to anyone from anywhere. And it's only $49 a month and it's unlimited.
You can actually go to gotomeeting.com/Turks and get a 30-day trial.
I never heard anybody.